My name is Dax Harlow. I'm with a company called MotoQuest. Some of you may be familiar with us. Just give me a show of hands. Who here has heard of MotoQuest? Okay. Anybody done a tour with us? How about rented from us? Okay, so you're all kind of vaguely familiar with us. That's awesome. All right, so we got a little bit of an agenda here today. I'll do a quick welcome, introduce myself, introduce MotoQuest a little more thoroughly. We did have some sign-up sheets out front. I'm going to raffle away some prizes at the end. If you guys want to be entered in to win the raffle, make sure you get that sign-up sheet filled out and get it back to one of us. And take care of that. I'll do some introductions. We'll do some trip preparation advice, some recommendations for you guys before you head out. Helpful resources. If you guys have any questions that are relevant to the current slide, raise your hand, shout them out, no problem. If it's not relevant to that slide, go ahead and hold off. Because whatever question you have might be addressed on the next slide down the road. And then we'll do a Q&A at the end here. So, all right, so who am I? Why should you listen to me, right? I'm from Portland, Oregon. I was born and raised out there in the Pacific Northwest. I have been riding motorcycles since I was 5 years old. There I am on my mom's old TL 125, what I grew up riding on logging roads back there. I come from a riding family. It's my grandmother, my grandfather, and that's my mom sandwiched between them. So both generations of my family ride on my mother's side and on my father's side. And I've worked at MotoQuest for about 4 years now. I started off as a bike washer there at the Portland facility. I have since become the facility manager. I do a little bit of the sales and marketing, and a couple times a year I get to go out and pretend that I'm a tour guide. So I've introduced myself. Now, what's MotoQuest all about, right? What is MotoQuest? What do we do? We're a 27-year-old motorcycle rental and touring company. We're based out of Anchorage, Alaska. That's where we're headquartered, and that's where we were founded. But we also have a shop in Portland, Oregon that I run for the company, and Long Beach, California. So we're all up and down the west coast of the States. From those locations, we have a fleet of about 100 late model BMWs that we rent out, 750 GSs, 850s, and then the big 1250s, 1300s now. We offer guided, supported motorcycle tours in 20 plus countries all over the world. So we do rentals here domestically in the States, and then the guided tours internationally. We have 3 locations, as I mentioned, and we rent GSs. These are all the countries that we currently offer tours in. So we have a pretty impressive range of tours that we offer. We're obviously heavy in North America where we're headquartered, but we also do quite a bit in South America and Japan as well. Those are kind of our bread and butter right now. But we also offer tours in New Zealand, a little bit in Europe, all that kind of good stuff. So that's what MotoQuest is. Now, who is MotoQuest? This guy right here is the boss. This is Brendan Anders. He's in the back room there. He is our CEO, general manager, and the boss man. That is our illustrious founder, Phil Freeman, who started the company 27 years ago in Anchorage, Alaska. He's also our premier tour guide that does a lot of our tours for us. And that's Kevin Haggerty, one of the owners of MotoQuest, and he's also here at the trade show. So if you guys are walking around the exhibitor building, make sure you swing by our booth and say hey. We also have Neil LaVille here, who is our tour director. He handles up a vast majority of the logistics for all of our tours, and he's also here with us this weekend. And a personal friend of mine. Okay, so we've covered the basics, who I am, what MotoQuest is. Now, what is the American Southwest, right? It's not a specifically defined region. It can be a little bit loosely interpreted, but generally it's recognized as a region in the United States. It's known for its arid deserts, rugged landscapes, Native American cultures, and Spanish and Mexican heritage. There's no universally agreed upon boundary, as you can see, but generally it's considered, Arizona, New Mexico, a little bit of Texas, a little bit of Nevada, Utah, and even actually a little bit of Southern California as well. Just for a little bit of context, just so you guys can understand the landmass that we're talking about here, it can be, depending on how you define it, between 500,000 and 300,000 square miles. For context, that's larger than France and Germany combined. Okay, we're talking about a massive region here. It's roughly 1/7 the entire continental U.S. landmass. So a lot of the American Southwest is defined by the Great Basin. So the Great Basin is a watershed that essentially all the water that goes into it does not leave, right? There's no outward flows of water from this area. It's extremely arid, and as such, there's very little amounts of population there, right? It's very sparsely populated in the American Southwest. And that's not all of it. You also have the Colorado Plateau to the east of that and some other geographical features, but you can see that Great Basin eats up almost all of Nevada. And that gives you really cool land features like the Bonneville Salt Flats you all are probably familiar with, and many other things. So why would you want to ride to the Southwest, right? What's the point? Well, it's because of this. It's absolutely beautiful there. A lot of you probably recognize this. This is the natural arches there. You have all sorts of different landscapes. So you have mountains, valleys, deserts, all that kind of stuff. Beautiful pictures. That should look familiar to some of you. That's Monument Valley.
Forrest Gump.
You got it, exactly. Just absolutely beautiful there. And the food, right? It's not just the landscape, it's the food as well. There's absolutely delicious food to be had. You have all the Mexican-American heritage there. You have great just traditional American cooking. Some tacos. And of course, Route 66, right? It's Americana. It's timeless. It's classic. People come from all over the world to ride Route 66. There's culture in the American Southwest. Amazing culture. And not just current culture, but ancient cultures as well, right? You can ride right up to some of this stuff and look at it, stuff that's been there for thousands of years. Some more petroglyphs, pictographs. Not only is there culture, past and present, but there's also a ton of national parks there, right? A vast majority of these western states are public lands that can be enjoyed by everybody. All of these national parks are in there. White Sands, Joshua Tree, Death Valley, Great Basin, Great Sand Dunes, you name it. And that's just the national parks. That's not even covering all of the national forests there, the BLM land. I mean, it's endless out there. And free for, it's your guys' land. It's public land. It's there for you to enjoy. Also, the locals are pretty cool out there. There's a lot of friendly locals out there. They're fun. There's a lot of characters. There's some colorful people out there, but that's what makes it unique out there. It's a very unique. And the road riding, right? That's the big thing. The riding is awesome out there. The road riding is great. And if you want to go off-road, the dirt riding is also fantastic. And again, there's almost endless amounts of dirt riding to be had out there. You can just kind of pick a direction in a road and just go. And you could go for days without seeing anybody if you wanted to. It's hard to convey how remote and desolate it can feel in some of these places. Some more dirt riding. I believe that's Valley of the Gods. And you can get into a little bit of trouble out there, but it's all fun. So trip prep, before you go, here's the stuff that you guys need to know before you peel off for the Southwest. So if you're gonna rent a motorcycle from us or any other company, you wanna do it 12 months in advance. The time to go in the American Southwest is the shoulder seasons. You wanna go in the spring and in the fall, right? In the winter, the overnight temperatures, it gets too cold. You can get into dangerous conditions, and in the summer, it's just too hot. So spring and fall are the time to go. You want to reserve your rental motorcycle with us or anybody else at least 12 months in advance to make sure you get the bike type you want and the dates. You want to make your hotel and resort reservations up to 6 months in advance if you have high standards. Again, if you get outside the population centers, it's pretty remote. Finding good accommodations can be challenging, so you want to make sure you book that well in advance. If you need a service appointment for whatever reason, again, you want to book that at least 3 weeks in advance. You want to get new tires on your bike, whatever it may be. Inform your bank and credit card companies of your upcoming travel, right? The last thing you want, you go to get some gas, your credit cards decline. And then pack the appropriate tools for your motorcycle, of course. You know, you could have the best AAA, the best roadside assistance in the world, and out in some of these places, nobody's going to come get you. So there is an element of being self-reliant while you're out there. Travel documentation. Of course, this is just good practice anywhere, but bring copies of your vehicle registration always. Make sure your insurance card's up to date. Roadside assistance, probably not a bad idea. And your national park pass. National park passes are critical. I recommend if you're over 65, you can get a lifetime national park pass that's relatively cheap. Highly recommend that. It pays for itself in no time. If you're under 65, you can still get an annual pass. I want to say it's $60 or $80. And again, it pays for itself. I think it's like a $20 entrance fee to each individual national park. So if you visit even 3 of those national parks that I listed earlier, the annual pass pays for itself. And supplies, right? You want to bring a toolkit. You can bring spare fuel if you want to. You know, I'm a guy that I get fuel anxiety, right? I get like 100 miles of range left, I start getting a little panicky. You can bring extra fuel. I recommend a siphon hose, right? If a car comes, you run out of fuel, worst case scenario, you're on the side of the road, a car will come along eventually and everyone's usually pretty friendly, pretty happy to loan you a couple gallons of gas if you need it, right? Everyone likes helping a motorcyclist in need. Water, tons of water. You want to bring probably twice as much as you think you need. If you bring a little water filter and you think you're going to fill it up in a creek, that's not going to happen. Water is very sparse out there, so you, again, need to be self-reliant. Pack as much water as you need, especially if you're going into the backcountry out there. You want to bring physical maps, just as a backup, right? Good practice anywhere, but if your GPS fails, your phone battery dies, whatever it may be, you have those physical maps as a fail-safe. And a GPS communicator. I know those Garmin inReaches are really popular these days, those little spot communicators. Those are okay, it's better than nothing, but a sat phone is king. Highly recommend you bring a satellite phone. If something goes wrong and you're stuck on the side of the road, broken down, you're injured, whatever it may be, just pressing a little button on that Garmin inReach and hoping somebody shows up a couple hours later, it doesn't really cut it. So highly recommend a sat phone so that you can call someone, talk to a human being, and you know that help is on the way.
Is that something we can get for you?
We do not rent sat phones, but we have tons of resources that we work with, and I'm happy to point you in the right direction so that you can get one. Yeah, I think you can even rent them by the day or the week even. And it's not inexpensive, but it's certainly money well spent.
There's a 3 o'clock talk that talks about satellite texting, if anybody's interested.
Nice. Is that going to be, do you know if that's in here?
Conference room D. Which one is this?
Yeah, this is D.
Maybe it's B.
Okay. Yeah, and I think the newer iPhones have satellite texting, something like that. And again, that's okay, but I would still recommend a sat phone. I don't think the technology is quite there yet.
So the problem with the sat phone is the cost. The satellite texting is incredibly reasonable.
And that's it. It is expensive to make a phone call with a sat phone, no doubt. But again, if you're on the side of the road, you're injured, it's money well spent to spend 10, 20 bucks, call someone, talk to a human being. Okay, and some helpful resources. Butler maps, invaluable. We use Butler maps. We helped develop the Butler map for Alaska when he came up there. Highly recommend Butler maps. But you have other options too. We also like these Indian country maps from AAA. They're fantastic, very detailed. They show you all the information that you'd want. I would recommend picking one of these guys up too. We use these on our guided tours. If you guys do an American Southwest tour with MotoQuest, we're going to give you one of these Indian country maps at the start. Other good resources, if you guys like moto camping, I really like Campendium. There's a variety of camping apps that you can use that will show you specific campgrounds. Campendium's free, and it's a great resource. You can kind of pull it up and it'll just show you a map, and I really like it because you can kind of get a sense for where the campgrounds are huddled up at together. But even Google Maps is pretty good for a lot of this stuff. I've navigated exclusively with Google Maps in this region, and you can download it so you have offline access on your phone, and it works pretty well. And visitor centers. These are highly underutilized. These guys, you walk in there, they probably haven't seen someone in like 3 days. They're going to be super happy to talk with you, give you local directions to stuff. Go to a visitor center and just chat with them a little bit, and you'll find some hidden gems out of these visitor centers. You really will. Now, what kind of motorcycle do you want to ride? Right? This is our weapon of choice. We use GSs. We think they work pretty well. But you don't need a gnarly adventure bike with crash bars and a skid plate and all that kind of stuff. You can ride whatever you got. We've had people on our tours ride Harley Davidsons. That's a popular choice, right? You get a lot of people that come in that want the quintessential American experience, ride Route 66 on a big Harley. That's cool. We've had people ride scooters on our tours, and even Goldwing trikes that have been converted, right? So this is the route that we do on our American Southwest tour. I think it's a pretty good route. It's available on our website if you'd like to check it out. It's just there for anybody to view. And I think it does a pretty good job of encapsulating most of the stuff that most people want to see in the American Southwest. It's a big loop in and out of Las Vegas. And you can see we go through Arizona, go to the Four Corners, a little bit into Colorado, into some elevation, but most of it is spent in southern Utah. And that's really, if you're going to visit the Southwest, that's where you probably want to spend most of your time. When you think of the Southwest, you think of the arches, you think of the rugged landscapes, the red rock, a lot of that's in southern Utah.
How long is that typical tour, that tour that you have up there?
This tour, we usually do this tour in, I want to say 10 to 12 days, something like that, from end to end. And there's a rest day in there. We have a rest day in Moab. We try not to do more than 250 miles a day. So it's a pretty relaxed riding pace. You could easily do it in a shorter amount of time if you were clipping along pretty good. This is really a place where you want to stop and take your time and enjoy it, right? A lot of the good stuff is off of the main roads. You're going to have to go down a side road for a couple of miles to see the really good stuff, and you absolutely want to take the time to do that. Route 66. So a lot of people, when you think of Route 66, this is what you have in mind, right? The mother road from Chicago to LA. Unfortunately, in reality, a lot of it no longer exists. A lot of it has been paved over. A lot of it's been incorporated into interstates. You can still find sections of it that are available and absolutely worthwhile to check out. The best sections are, let me back up there a little bit. Some of the best sections we hit on our tour, they're out of Oatman, Arizona through Williams. And that's a really nice little section of the route. And that's what you see here. You can see the classic Burma shave signs, right? Iconic. And there's just a ton of classic Americana out there. Old cars, old gas pumps. You know, some of these places look like they haven't been touched by time. It's really cool. This is Oatman, Arizona. This is what I mentioned earlier. This is just outside Needles, California. It's a really cool little town. It was a gold mining town back in the day. When prospectors went there, they brought burros with them, right, pack mules. And the mine shut down during World War II. It was deemed non-essential to the war effort. And so they shut it down. And when everyone left the town, they left the burros there with them. So Oatman is now famous for their burros there. They just kind of wander the streets. It's really kind of cool. And this is what some of Oatman looks like. There's one of the burros there. And that's just some of the wildlife you'll see in the American Southwest. You have the burros there, they're pretty tame. You know, you can go up and feed them. They're wandering the streets. They'll go into the local bar there and kind of hang out. The locals tolerate them. Just don't get behind one, they will kick. But you also see cattle. There's a lot of open range cattle in the American Southwest. You do have to be aware of that. Almost every American Southwest tour, you'll see a couple of these guys that were unfortunately smacked pretty good with a car and they're dead on the side of the road. But that's cool because sometimes you get to see real cowboys, real working cowboys out there in the desert. You also see deer, which again, you got to watch for those guys. And the most dangerous animal of all, the RVer. This is Williams. This is the end of our section that we do on Route 66. And it's also a really cool town. There's lots of old neon signs there that you can check out, old cars, all that kind of Americana stuff I already touched on. And it's also a great launching point if you want to go up into Grand Canyon. This is a great spot to stay for the Grand Canyon. It's a short drive north from there, and you have Grand Canyon National Park at your disposal. It's the Grand Canyon there. I got the opportunity on the last American Southwest tour I did to do a helicopter tour of the Grand Canyon. It is a little pricey, but absolutely worth it. I've been to the Grand Canyon several times, and I'd never seen it like this before by air. Going to a viewpoint and kind of looking over the rim of the canyon does not do it justice. You need to get up in the air a couple thousand feet to really appreciate the scale and the beauty of it.
Do they have sunrise or sunset helicopter rides? Do you have a preference?
They do have sunrise and sunset. I've never gotten a chance to do it. We stay in Williams, and so it's usually, I don't know, maybe an hour to get there, right? So by the time we're doing the helicopter, it's like 9, 10 o'clock. It's a little late in the day. But the operation there, they have half a dozen helicopters, and they are turning them out, man. I mean, like every 15 minutes, you can catch a helicopter right out of there. Just on the other side of the Grand Canyon, we hit Moki Dugway, which is a really cool road. Let's see here. It's switchbacks, climbs up about 1,500, 2,000 feet up onto a mesa you can check out there. And it was a road originally built in the 50s for uranium mining. They were hauling a bunch of uranium ore out of there. They don't do so much of that anymore, but it's kind of become a cool point of interest for a lot of people. You can go right up to Moki Dugway, and you get a really nice view looking out over the desert from the top there. And if you're the dirt riding, it's very mellow. I took people on this that have never touched dirt on a motorcycle, and it's so hard packed that it was not an issue at all. All right, there's Utah. Once you're in Utah, you get there, Monument Valley. Absolutely stunning place. This should look familiar. I think someone mentioned Forrest Gump. That's what it is. There's literally a sign there that says Forrest Gump Viewpoint to the right, and you can pull over and people go out there and take their picture, you know. It's kind of fun. That's what that guy was doing. I said, man, there's characters out there in the desert.
You think it's the heat?
Yeah. Cooks their brains a little bit. That's Four Corners Monument. Super cool spot there. It's on tribal lands. It's a great spot. There's lots of vendors there selling, tribal artwork, bead work, all that kind of good stuff. It's a cool little spot. Worthwhile to check out. And the heat, just like you mentioned, it gets hot there. Even in the shoulder seasons, it can get pretty warm. I don't know about you guys. I get sleepy and tired when I'm that hot. You're riding a motorcycle all day. You want to take a power nap. And there's tons of them to be had. It's hot during the day, but at night it can get cold, right? Particularly, this is in Cortez, Colorado. You get up in elevation up there, and you can experience all 4 seasons in one day: spring, summer, winter, and fall, all in one day. So if you go there, dress appropriately. Layers is the name of the game out there, right? Tons of layers, and you can wake up in the morning and your bikes will look like this. Be 90 degrees that day, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and you come out to this. So. Beautiful. And again, it's because of this elevation. I think they're just at under, 10,000 feet right there. So you can get up into some serious elevation when you're out there. This is Moab. Moab's a really cool little town. It's a very hip, vibrant, young town. There's a lot of hiking, mountain biking, motorcycle riding, 4x4 out there. It's a really, really cool spot. Got a classic diner there. Highly recommend if you go to Moab, you need to eat at this place. This is the Schaefer Trail, just out of Moab. Again, great spot. You can go for a day ride out of Moab. We have a rest day there on our tour. And we give you the choice. If you want to go out and ride some dirt with the guide, you're welcome to do that. Or if you want to hang out in town and just kind of relax for the day, hang out in the hot tub, you can also do that. But if you do that, you're missing out on this. And it's pretty cool. Colorado River. This is outside Bryce Canyon National Park. And you find just weird stuff like this out there in the desert. This is a gas station that was like drilled out of the side of out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you are deep in the desert and you come across a place like this, and it's kind of cool. Hollow Mountain, they got a gas station there, and people are real friendly. You can check it out. This is a Mexican hat. It's a famous rock formation. Kind of fun. You can go out and take a little picture with it. Hole in the rock, same thing. Just weird, oddball stuff out there in the desert you don't see anywhere else. And that's the American Southwest. That's what I got for you guys. You got any questions? Nothing? Yes, sir. The Moki Dugway? Yeah, it's a mix. It's a whole variety. So the more well-traveled roads are going to be hard-packed, like the Moki Dugway, the Schaefer Trail that I showed you guys. That's all going to be hard-packed, very mellow riding. If you get into some side roads off of there, you can start getting into some deep sand and that kind of stuff. Yeah.